I'd like to see the.
We better get started. I'll call our meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Pat Covington, County Judge Executive. Today is June 10th, and this is our official business meeting of the Scott County Fiscal Court. I would like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Tim, would you lead us?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I knew I was going to do it.
Jump on the table.
Open this thing with a bang. Yeah, no kidding.
Ms. Hamilton,
Everybody's going to go under the.
would you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Foreman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
He's here. He had to step out for a phone
He's
call.
here.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Here. Thank you all for being here with us this morning. Next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from 5:26. Any questions or comments in regard to those minutes?
Motion.
Motion from Kelly Corman, second from David Livingston. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The next would be our special called meeting from 6:03. Any questions or comments related to those minutes?
Motion.
Motion from Kelly Corman. Second from Rick Hostetler with the scratch on the nose.
No, I wasn't here.
Alvin Lyons. Alvin Lyons.
I'm
with
going
the
to
official
abstain.
second.
I'm going to abstain from voting. I wasn't here.
Oh, that's correct. All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is number 5, transfers as presented. Any questions or comments related to those? Motion from Tim Thompson.
Second.
Second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, number 6, the bills as presented. Any questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Rick Hostetler. Second from Alvin Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we will put sheriff's fees on for the next agenda because we don't have all the data for that, but we will let the record reflect that county clerk fees in the amount of $208,000, $208,701 and 75 cents were submitted. So make sure the record reflects that. And then number 8, ordinance 22-06 Mallard Point parking, first reading. This is an ordinance at the request of the Mallard Point Owners Association, and we've had dialogue back and forth this week. I met with the couple of folks from the Owners Association, and CAM has completed a draft. What you had seen in this draft reflected requests for prohibiting commercial parking of commercial vehicles of class 4 and above from dusk to dawn, and Cam worded it a little bit, I think 30 minutes before and 30 minutes, or 30 minutes after.
I took that from the statute that talks about when you have to have your headlights on and off.
Yes.
That's where I got that language.
So before he reads the summary, is there any questions or comments? And I'll let Cam read the summary and then have any questions or comments as well. This has been shared with you, and it's been shared with all of my understanding with the Mallard Point neighborhood through their email and social media page, I believe.
One question I have is that we've put in here that's a $25 fine, and when we looked at the homestead last week, I think there was a $10 fine in there. Now, I know this is different class type of vehicles that could be fined. Is there some type of reason why that the fines are different?
Their request was, instead of 10, was 25. And as I put in that email, I didn't see anything wrong with the request unless we had an issue with it being inconsistent with other ordinances. I think this is specific to commercial. I think the other is just in general for any parking.
Yeah.
That was the request, and that's the only reason it's in there, to be honest.
This one deals overnight parking too.
Yes,
It's a little
sir.
different than.
Yeah.
So.
That's fine. I just didn't know
Yes,
if we
sir.
need to be consistent
Yeah.
across the board.
No, and that was a question. That's why I put it in the email. But I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it's a crazy amount, but it is enough that it would. I don't want to give away $25. So, Cam, if there's no other questions, I'll ask you to read the summary, and then we'll go from there.
Scott County Fiscal Court Ordinance Number 22-06, an ordinance prohibiting overnight commercial motor vehicle parking for vehicles Class 4 and above as classified by the Federal Highway Administration on the streets in Mallard Point subdivision. Witnesseth, whereas some citizens of the Mallard Point subdivision have requested that the Scott County Fiscal Court prohibit overnight commercial motor vehicle parking on the streets in the subdivision for vehicles Class 4 and above as classified by the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, and whereas the court has considered their request and finds that it is in the best interest of the citizens that reside in the subdivision to restrict said parking, now therefore be it ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows. 1. No commercial motor vehicles Class 4 and above as classified by FHWA shall park on any of the streets in Mallard Point subdivision during the time period from 1/2 hour after sunset to 1/2 hour before sunrise. The FHWA vehicle classification definitions are as follows, and then there's a table. Table 1, FHWA vehicle classification definitions. Class 1 includes motorcycles with 2 axles. Class 2 includes passenger cars. That means all cars, cars with 1 axle trailers, or cars with 2 axle trailers, and they could have 2, 3, or 4 axles. Class 3 includes other 2 axle, 4 tire, single unit vehicles such as pickups and vans with 1 and 2 axle trailers. So all those would be allowed to park there. Class 4 would include buses with 2 and 3 axle buses. Class 5 would include 2 axles, 6 tires, 6 single unit trucks. Class 6 would include 3 axle single unit trucks. Class 7 would include 4 or more axle single unit trucks. Class 8 would include 4 or fewer axle single trailer trucks. Class 9 would include 5 axle single trailer trucks. Class 10 would include 6 or more axle single trailer trucks. Class 11 would include 5 or fewer axle multi-trailer trucks. Class 12 would include 6 axle multi-trailer trucks. Class 13 would include 7 or more axle multi-trailer trucks. And then the Class 14 and 15 just say multiple configurations. Number 2, appropriate signage shall be erected which prohibits said commercial motor vehicle parking on any of the streets in the subdivision consistent with this ordinance. Number 3, this ordinance may be enforced by the Scott County Sheriff's Office or any other law enforcement agency having jurisdiction. Number 4, violations of this ordinance shall be punishable by a $25 fine. Number 5, commercial motor vehicle as used in this ordinance shall be defined as set out in KRS 281A.0 20.010 subsection 8 as it now exists or may be amended from time to time. Number 6, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication as required by law. First reading approved today, June 10th, 2022. And then if adopted, that would be on the second reading, June 23rd, 2022.
There's only one entrance to Mallard Point. Would it be appropriate to have one sign at the entrance that says overnight commercial parking vehicles, whatever the wordage is? Is that sufficient, JR, and everybody? Yes. Rick?
I was gonna ask about that, but also, yeah, 'cause that should take care of it, shouldn't it? Fair size sign.
So you want me to add at the entrance? I don't know that it needs.
It doesn't need to be. I was just talking about practical matters.
Got it.
The other question I had was, and it kind of goes back to the, so that's, is there any room in this for a person to get a warning? Does that allow for this, Cam?
I think law enforcement always have discretion on those matters.
Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking about in the beginning, with as much as we can do with social media, sometimes we still don't catch that that's that.
Signage is the warning though, right?
That's true, I agree, but how many times you drive past a sign and don't read it?
Yeah. I think the HOA wanted this, then the HOA needs to communicate it.
They can blast it with.
Right. Well, I mean, even
Even a mailing or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in their newsletter and
Yeah, well, that was another thing I
Yeah.
would suggest, we should encourage the HOA, now that I'm assuming this is on the pass, we should encourage them.
And I'll reach out to the gentleman that contacted me.
Make sure they
Bruce.
know.
Bruce Combs.
Yes, Combs.
Joe Pat, make sure they know it isn't in effect until it's published,
Mm-hmm.
so even
No.
after the next meeting.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well, back to Cam's thought there, you said that sheriff's department could have some discretion.
Yeah, like for example, I would think, and I'm just, if somebody was parked out there and they said, hey, you need to move your vehicle, and they immediately move it, then maybe you could have some discretion to not cite them, right?
That's what I was talking
Yeah.
about, because in the beginning, I know what David's saying, and I agree with
With him, we're gonna have the signage and it's gonna be right there and everybody's gonna drive by it, but until,
Right.
somebody gets, I didn't know that was happening, whatever.
But I do think that the sheriff's department staff
Yeah.
will use discretion.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I think they do that every day.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Tim Thompson. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Judge, I've begged for discretion before being pulled over, so I know tears work.
Last week you were talking about inflicting pain. This week you're asking for discretion.
Even I need grace.
We all need grace, brother. We all need.
Can we add the sheriff fees now?
Yes. Let the record reflect that the sheriff submitted fees in the amount of $65,915.44. Thank you. Now, animal control new hire, Mr. Mudrack, how are you?
How you doing?
We're blessed.
Judge, court, I have looks like the next 4 agenda items, and if it's okay with the court, I'll just present them all at one motion, if that's okay with you all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, on behalf of Sherry Bishop, I'm pleased to recommend the
Hold on
appointment.
for just a second, Jeff.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
We need motions separate.
Separate? Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right, I'll do that then.
I just thought he was presenting each one, but go ahead. We'll do motion separate.
Sure, that's fine. Well, first of all, on behalf of Sherry Bishop, I'm pleased to recommend Sherry Dixon as an animal care technician. That'll be effective June 20th, 2022 at $14 an hour. As you saw in the email I sent you, she has more than 13 years of experience as doing this type of work, and most recently worked as a kennel manager in Texas. They recently relocated to Cynthiana. So presenting to you Shannon Dixon, June 20th, at $14 an hour.
Any questions or comments? Motion from David, second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Road Department new hire.
Okay. So on behalf of J.R. Brandenburg, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Tyler Harris as a road crew laborer. That'll be effective this coming Monday, June 13th at $14 an hour. Tyler's currently working in the detention center.
What is Tyler's, is he going to be a part of this, of the trash, picking up the trash?
Yes. So it's
I mean,
He's the assistant? Yeah.
but the truth is, it's been a challenge to find a staff person, and
So the goal is to hire 2 for that position. We're able to fill 1 now. JR is going to have another one of his staff members work with him until we find another person. We just relaunched the job announcement for that with the hopes that it'll refresh it and we'll get some new candidates. So we'll see what happens.
Is that something that could be a part-time? I'm sorry, go ahead and vote.
so is there a motion to accept? Motion, I heard. Second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Question.
My question was, is this a scenario where there could be seasonal work, like when the college students are in, and maybe, if there's some that want, I don't know. I don't know what kind of equipment they're dealing with or anything like that, but if they're just picking up trash, I didn't know if that was a scenario where.
That'd be up to the court's discretion if they wanted to post a seasonal.
Well, I would follow JR and Jeff's recommendation.
Well,
So
I think we've proposed that before, but there was an interest in moving forward with full-time hires. So
it's just been such a.
I mean, having 2 full-time, but having seasonal that.
Oh, that's what you mean.
In addition to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something we can talk about. So we'll talk about it and then come back to it. Fire Department new hire and change.
Okay. Next, on behalf of Chief John Ward, I'm very pleased to recommend the lateral transfer of Justin Baker from Battalion Chief to Battalion Chief for Training and Safety, which will be effective this coming Monday, June 13th. Justin's currently on shift right now, is my understanding, so this will be his last day as a shift commander, if the court approves. Justin has been a battalion chief for more than 9 years and has worked in the fire service for more than 20 years. He definitely brings a wealth of hands-on experience to this position. He'll transition from an hourly paid role to a salary position at the same annual rate of pay at $76,633. So, and if I'm not mistaken, Justin, I think you were also on command during the Sadieville school fire. Is that correct? Okay. So, thank you.
John, would you make some comments about the importance of this position to the agency? And then Battalion Chief Baker, I'd like to express our appreciation for your service and leadership, and I acknowledge how important it is to have training at priority, and it's continuing to be a priority, and appreciate what you'll bring to the table, and appreciate the process. There's an interview process looking at candidates, and this is a recommendation from the committee. Chief Ward?
Yes. Judge, measures, thank you all. Training, that's where it starts. I mean, that's so important. Not just where it starts, but where it continues throughout your career in the fire service. The one thing that I, really admire Battalion Chief Baker for is the number of years of service he's been with that department. He's been a battalion chief for 9 years going on, He brings in a wealth of knowledge. And, it's easy for somebody to get up and do a PowerPoint presentation or go off a lesson plan or whatever. And that's good, but the experience he brings along with that as he's training these new recruits, as he's continuing to train the members that we currently have, that is so important. And his wealth of knowledge that he's bringing into that is just going to greatly improve the training for the membership there.
Any questions or comments from from any of our staff, or court, I'm sorry.
Just make a comment. Congratulations. Well, in a minute, hopefully. I've worked with you for a long time. You're excellent. You're cool, calm, collected, and I know the bittersweet going from the shift to the admin, but it's going to be great for that department.
Yeah, and I've told you about that. That's probably the biggest transitions you go through your career in the fire service is moving from a 24/48 to 40 hour.
You'll get some sleep.
Yeah.
Well, let's move it on to the congratulations. I'll make that motion.
Motion, second from Tim. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
We appreciate your all service.
Congratulations.
And now number 12 is EMS new hires.
Yes.
Chris Runyon's with us as well.
Yeah. On behalf of Chris Runyon, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Morgan Rogers as a full-time EMT effective June 25th at $11.99 an hour. She's been working with EMS on a part-time basis and also has been working at Woodford County on a full-time basis. She'll be, of course, moving from Woodford County to join our team here on a full-time basis. If it's possible, I think I could do this. We also have 2 part-time people that we're going to recommend to you. I didn't send you an email about these yet. These are 2 individuals who just recently completed the EMT certification program with Chris Runyon and the Georgetown Scott County EMS program. Those 2 individuals are Bradley Cole and Shelby Noelsher. They'll be at $10.51 an hour, and they'll begin employment later this month. So I present to you those 3 individuals.
Any questions or comments? We have a motion. We have a second. I'll make a comment. Those 2 individuals coming from our EMT training program is a point of let's celebrate that. I mean, really appreciate the efforts and realizing, the opportunity for young people to get trained and join our agency is fantastic. And we know that they're getting good training, and we have a relationship developed with them, and that's why they wanted to join the agency. So that's fantastic. So
They're coming out of that inaugural class.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
It is.
So we've got a motion, we've got a second. Any other comment?
Well, what's that do for staffing? Sounds like
We're still 1 short. Yeah, 1 paramedic short. Yeah. So we're doing pretty well.
Been a challenge, but we'll keep humping. Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Leads me to number 13. I believe we'll need to have 2 motions to consider. Number 1 is it'd be my recommendation to the court that we officially notify the Shepherd's House that we are going to entertain new agreements for a day reporting program, treatment program. That's my first recommendation. Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion? Motion from Dwayne Ellison. Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry, who was second?
The second was Rick. The second motion would be to officially advertise that we were accepting proposals for professional services of a day reporting program, and we'll entertain proposals and presentations after we advertise it.
You just use that same one 2 years ago now.
So the challenge is we've looked historically to see if we could find the RFP from our original posting, and we'll either use, if not, in my mind, these are professional services, and I do think we need to advertise and accept proposals, but is it in the form of official bid? Are we looking for the low bidder, or are we looking for holistically what's going to be part of the program? And of course we got to be stewards of tax dollars, But I do think these are professional services as well.
Form an RFP, right? So you still choose. You don't
Yeah.
go by the price.
Yeah. So Cam and I and Stacy will put something together. We'll share with you before we advertise it, and then try to put it out and advertise it. But this motion would be to officially accept new proposals for professional services of the a day program, and then we'll go from there. Is there any questions or comments?
I had a couple of questions.
Yes,
One,
sir.
Shepherd's House will be eligible to resubmit.
1,000%, yes, sir.
And my second question, the folks that are in their program now, is there going to be a landing strip? I mean, how will they
Right.
handle it if they're not
And I've talked with Shepherd's House, and there will be a transition program, and they have to do that. So, and then if whoever wins the bid, the proposal, we would have to talk about how to transition those and not leave anybody out.
I'm assuming it would still make the same opportunity for, what's the shopping center where they're renting now?
My intent was whoever we go with on a new proposal, I believe we just stay right where we're at. Now, currently we pay the lease and the utilities for that site. So that would be part of the agreement. Any other questions or comments? Did we have a motion? We had it. Dwayne made a motion. Second from Alvin. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. New business. I want to circle back to the Joshua Court. We have talked with Rob Dowler, JR, and I of H&B, and I need to clarify because I think I got my head all discombobulated. The process after talking with Rob Dowler is this retention basement easement would take up approximately 2 acres. And when it rains very heavy, it will be a pond, and it will have a drain at the bottom. The owners of the property really prefer a border fence for safety to keep kids out of the nearby property, the subdivision. They prefer to have the fence installed. Rob Dowler is putting together a proposal that would include the fence installed, just a simple wire fence with barbed wire at the top. That's their request, and I had it discombobulated in my head, but that's what Rob's putting together, and we'll have before our next meeting, so you all can consider it. But there'd be a cost for the easement to pay for the easement to the owners, and a cost for the installation of the fence between the boundary of the subdivision and the property. And I think that's reasonable as well. So we're working on that. We'll have that back. I think it's something that needs to be done. Any questions or comments about that? JR, anything additional there? All right. Chad Wallace and myself yesterday had a conversation conference with Kelly Baker in regards to requests from citizens in the community about Leestown and Paynes Depot. There's been accidents there. There's concern about that intersection. It is not a good intersection because there's commercial property right there with many, like cars coming and going right across from the intersection, and then right down from there is a left turn most of the time from folks trying to get out on Weisenberger. And we had conversation there with Kelly about options and consideration for that. So we are trying to address that. Chad, would you like to make any comment?
Got it.
So all that has to go through the shift program, though, and it has to score out. One potential route would be discretionary funds from the governor or the secretary. So we'll work on that because it does need attention. I have no other new business. Anyone else have any new business?
Any update on 460 U.S. affairs?
Yeah, it's
Still just on environmental?
Yeah, they're still waiting on environmental, and but you know, the design, right away, and utilities, that's going to happen. You know, like it's been funded, and the route through Newtown has not been decided. Is what been shared with us. Any other?
Judge, so, yeah.
Shoo! Are we going to be grounded?
I'm trying to figure out how to address this in the proper way. But this was made public yesterday that, you know, on a social media platform, which I try not to put much credibility into this, there was complaints about Brookings Park. And one of the comments was that I would assume that the Parks Department or the Scott County Fiscal Court had applied for a land and water grant for improvements of that park.
That was last year.
Okay.
And this court approved that, and we didn't get it.
What? Never mind.
So I don't think it's wise that we look at these land and water grants going forward with the park. But to really drill down into where the core of this issue is, if it is truly a maintenance issue, whether there's weeds growing up, that kind of goes down to our inmate program. And there used to be inmates that was Parks and Rec used, inmates that Georgetown Housing Authority used, inmates that the State Road Department used, inmates that would help JR's crew pick up trash. And if you really get down to the core issue here, that's what I find is where we're getting short, where we need help, where it can help our parks, where it can help our community.
So I will reach out to Jailer Broyles and ask him if there's any update on the inmate work crews, and I'll ask him to communicate to the court, and we'll go from there.
Well, Rick and I sat in the conference this week with the Department of Solid Waste, and I believe I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, she said a majority of the jails, the inmates are now back working in the counties. The inmates are back working. And we're all passionate, we love our community, but this is a crucial part of our community. Yeah. It helps parks departments, it helps everybody.
And Chad, that's true. A lot of friends that are magistrates and commissioners and judges across the state, I'll see them posting on a regular basis of what's being done in their district by the inmate crews, whether they're cleaning up or they're building something or they're doing something within their county. So I will reach out to Jailer Broyles and ask him if he would consider sharing information related to that. Let's rewind back to land and water. So there'd been reports, and that playground was actually closed earlier by the Parks and Rec director, Kimberly Bryce. Thank you. And Dwayne Ellison and myself went and met with staff from Parks and Rec, and we went from one end to the other of that playground, and with some maintenance and some tightening of bolts and some caulking, the maintenance issues and the safety issues were addressed. Now, while we were there, we talked about the mulch. There was a question about drainage coming off the hill. We talked about possibly doing a little grading to try to redirect some of that water. There's a spring that keeps it wet on one end. But my understanding at that time, they were going to re-mulch it
but they were waiting to try to do a little work. Has that work been done yet? I don't know. Now,
This is the time of year that you mulch, though. I mean,
yeah,
So, I mean, it does, at this time of year, all playgrounds are kind of,
yeah, it needs to be done.
Well, and I was texting with Ms. Rice yesterday, and she said that they have an MOU with, I guess it's St. John's Catholic Church for volunteers to mulch the playground June 11th through the 17th. But I don't know if the other work has been done to alleviate the problem with the dampness.
Yeah,
And I still come back that I said earlier when we were just all waiting for the meeting to start, sitting in here, mulching should have occurred late April at the latest, when the weather starts turning warm, because you know you're going to have kids coming out there. Parents are going to want to bring their kids out there. So,
semi-trucks full. I don't know what, playground mulch is different than mulch. You know that.
right.
So, I mean, you
I mean,
get
it's yeah.
semi-trucks full of it, it's not, so you don't want to be going.
But I don't think we need a semi truck of it. I mean, it's I don't.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know
huge.
it's going-
Will.
You think so?
There's a huge
I use semi-truck.
footprint there.
But if you don't get it out there, it doesn't dry
No.
out either. I mean,
No.
you know,
But
we've
let-
had a very wet spring.
But here's the big picture of the thing. The concern was that Kim wanted to apply for another land and water grant. It was going to be a $250,000 commitment from this court. Dwayne and I went out there. Yes, that playground is older, but it is functional. And with the other known commitments that need to be made, my concern was, we've got the pavilion issues and we had some other issues that were popping up. I didn't want to ask the court to commit another $250,000 with all those other things out there floating. So I made the decision, and Dwayne and I talked, that, hey, Kim, right now is not a good time to do that because of all those other commitments. And I really do feel like if they get it mulched and get some of those weeds cleaned out, which they will, and the Parks and Rec staff works very hard. I mean, they work hard. They don't have, they have the same issue with staffing as well. It's not the same world that we had, so I'm not going there. Our Parks and Rec staff works hard, but I wanted to give everybody the big picture of that playground. That playground's older, yes. It's still functional, and I did not want to make a commitment of $250,000 at this time, and that's why I told Kim to put a hold on that. So,
Yeah, I agree.
and I think you would support that.
Absolutely.
So-
but if it's a maintenance issue, then that's what Parks needs to
yeah.
take care of. And then I'm just sitting here thinking, if they have a issue with not getting people to apply for jobs, that goes back to what we used to get to help us.
It
take
goes
care of
back to that
parks.
original part,
That's exactly right.
and I'll get it addressed. Alvin,
I was gonna say, we've got a playground set up there that is usable with some maintenance. We don't have anything at Great Crossings.
Yeah.
Still, at our nicest, newest park, we don't have anything.
Right.
So, till we get some there, I would support it.
yeah, so you go along with the same thought process.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Anything, other comments?
Joe Pat, the complaints I read weren't about the equipment at all.
It was just about the general maintenance of the grounds. Any other new business?
It's not
Rick
new bus-
Hostetler.
Not new business, but one more comment with Chad talking about the land and water grant. I agree with him to a certain point. I think when we consider those, we got to do a case by case. I mean, that's a land and water grant that we're dealing with the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And that was way before my time, but probably all of our times when that was issued, and it really ties you up. So I learned something there just with the cemetery, that we really got to look into the details on a case by case. I mean, it's worth considering, but we may say that's too much.
I think it's case by case and looking at the piece of property where it's possibly going and such.
Right.
So, anything else? Anyone in our audience? J.R. Brandenburg.
You might want to tell them how well the soccer fields look out there.
Can you update us on the, what's their timeline? Like, I don't know the time. On the building and stuff like that? When do they think they'll have?
This, what, August, September?
So I haven't been out there today, but the block was about to go up.
Yes.
So they're about to put the block, and then they got the trusses sitting out there. So that's about to happen. The JR and Larry and the Parks Department and JR's Road Department, they put seed on all 4 fields, and we have been blessed with water. But it really is coming in thick, and it's going to.
Yeah, they look great. And there was a couple of reports that the judge was out there doing rain dates.
You're not supposed to tell that. I will say there's a couple prayers that went up. We just want it to be functional in the fall.
And they look great.
And if JR and the crew hadn't gotten the seed out, there's no way. We have a chance now for it to be functional and usable on those fields. I mean, well, if we get it sowed again in September, we'll do the exact same thing again in September.
Yeah.
And heck, they're out there playing soccer in October deep. So if what we get on the ground in September thickens it up and is good, then that's what I was thinking about.
Worried about being too light.
Yeah. No, we don't want to do that, and I agree with you there. And but. JR's crew really helped, and then the building will be very nice. The parking lot we only approved. It's going to be gravel right now, and it's got curbs and everything. We can talk about in the future about putting pavement on that, but the road through there will be paved.
Yes.
It'll be very nice, and it's going to be nice. And then we dovetail that with the Legacy Trail project that we've got coming. That will be an upgrade for our community, but we do need to consider, in the next year or so, putting pavement out there.
Another state-of-the-art project across its park.
Yeah, but I've actually asked Sheriff if they had a chance to give us some drone shots overhead, just so you could see exactly so we'll have that, and I'll share that. We could.
Real quick, I just saw a copy of the MOU for the mulching. Do you get a copy of any of the contracts that are signed through Parks and Rec?
Nothing like that.
I would make a recommendation that we need to get copies of every contract before they're initiated, due to the fact that we fund them. And so the liability could be tied back to us, and make sure that we're getting indemnified on every agreement that goes through there. Because on this one, it's got Parks and Rec and the city of Georgetown. It doesn't list us. So.
And that's our park.
Yes, it needs to come through us every time to make sure that language is correct.
Cam, can you help us with that?
Yeah, I can. It's something we can discuss. Essentially, you want that clause in there.
Yeah, and it's got the indemnification, but it just has the city of Georgetown and Georgetown Scott County Parks and Rec.
Okay. So if Cam will help us, that'd be great.
I just think if you want to approve every, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, we don't have to approve every one of them. Right. No. It's like with school districts. I don't approve their contracts, but I read their insurability clause every time just to make sure that they're covered correctly.
You just want Cam reviewing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I got just real quick.
Tim Thompson.
Just a couple status update or checks. The dam project. Is there any other?
Which one? Can you be
Tim,
more specific about
I'm
that?
sorry.
Which one on this list are you talking about?
We need the dam project.
I know.
We've not heard anything
Calm
about
down.
funding, but we do need to check with Sustainable Streams to see where they're at. We're kind of trying to get in a queue with them on the feasibility study, and that's who was recommended to us. So, Jared, I'm going to put that in your box if you'll help us check on that.
And then just the lazy river. I know that it's there. Is that something I guess we'll
Going from dams to lazy rivers.
And we'll just have to.
We going to have any tree swings next?
You got one holding water back
We
and
got
one
any
with
tree
no water.
swings next? The lazy river. From my last communication with Kim was, it takes like we had to get in the queue for the leak detector company, and it was like a 3 to 4 week process. And I think we're still waiting on the leak detector. So, after that data's shared, then I'll share it with you all.
Would it be cheaper just to buy one? I mean, we seem to need it every summer.
I can't answer that, brother. So, that's it. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? So we got a motion from Rick, second from Kelly. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.